Started business in 1919. In 29, there's a Great Depression. And from what I understand, they were selling almost nothing. Nobody had any money. This is a picture taken in the 20s. I think this is the first location that we're aware of. And the vehicles out front are the Auburn 6, it says. Things were terrible in the 30s. It didn't like things got better overnight. And then you start the war issue of World War II. And of course, one of the interesting things is this area trained most of the people that fought in Europe. My father was called into the Army, and he had to leave here. My grandfather was still very active, but my father was sent to various places to be trained and then sent to Europe in '43. It seems like tough times came pretty frequently then, and we may think they do now, but they're somewhat muted in their effect on business in the more modern days. We were making airplanes and tanks. We were not making automobiles, so you go through another period where business is tough. People couldn't buy cars. There were no cars to be bought. All the rubber was being sent to make military tires. So a flat tire was a common occurrence and you couldn't do anything about it.
And you kind of start thinking back of mainly the things that they came through, the time frame, the Great Depression, the stocks drop, the housing market failure. I mean, all of those things. And we had some drop-offs, but we weren't ever in fear of not having a job.
This is the earliest used car lot that I'm aware of. There may have been some before, but it's again on 3rd Street. This is the location on MacArthur Drive that we are still in today. We're sitting about right here. My father bought the property on MacArthur Drive, a very forward-thinking thing back in the mid-50s. This is a logo that was on the patches of the dealership, and of course mentions Walker Oldsmobile. But this is the rocket that was the Oldsmobile rocket that we are still using on the back of our vehicles, and it says Walker on the rocket in Alexandria.
We were both as a company and as a family born here. So we have an obligation in this community to give back to the community that has given us so much.
Well, you want your community to thrive, and you want it to be a great place to live, and you want people to see that you're part of it. So we do it because we love the community, and also at the same time that the community can see that we're part of what's going on and part of the good things that are happening.
You know, we have grandkids and great-grandkids that are buying cars from us whose their grandparents and great-grandparents were buying Oldsmobiles 50 and 60 and 70 years ago from us. So we believe that it's our role and our obligation to support the community because they've supported us for a century now.
We're serving this community, a community that we love, and doing it in the right manner.
They sponsor some of the local charitable events, the boat races, the Susan Coleman. They're very, very involved in the community life and the community fabric.
Within the next 30 days, we're going to be going forward with our coats for kids in the community. We'll do canned food drive. I mean, it's, you know, when we're finished with another project, another one's fixing to start.
Now, the cars are great. The cars are what we sell. And they're wonderful, and it's fun to see the new features, and it's fun to see whatever happens as they've evolved. But it's really the people and the transactions that are exciting.
So we consider ourselves family first, business second, and we do that every day.
We want them to be happy. They do great work when they're happy, and they make a good living to raise their family and send their kids to school. It just works that people are satisfied with their job, and It shows to our customer. This must be a picture in the 50s of the entire service staff on another building on 3rd Street.
Every day is an exciting, challenging opportunity to do something different.
I don't care if it's in the car business or anything else. You have to be passionate about what you do, or you will not be happy at work. If you're not happy at work, you won't be successful.
Supporting people as they do their best, that'd be the most satisfaction I could have.
So we try to bring people in, teach them the business like it was taught to me.
We're just all very proud about where we're at, and if you're not proud about where you're at, then you need to be somewhere else.
Where you work determines your quality of life. And to be a part of an organization that believes in honor and integrity is something that I'm very proud of.
There's definitely a sense of pride on top of the vehicles that we sell that are the best in their categories.
If you surround yourself with good people, they're going to do the right thing every time.
I would not have anticipated that we would have 300 employees at this point and that we would have the 12 franchises we have.
We've got to continue growing or we go backwards. And we've had those moments where we've gone backwards. We lost Oldsmobile, we lost Pontiac, we lost Saturn. And when those things happen, you have to readjust and figure out, what do I do now? How do I make up for that? And how do I move forward?
This was the show day probably in September of 1958 or 9, with people dressed up and being greeted, and it was a big event to have people see the new vehicles. Here's something we coordinated with the local dress shop and men's shop with mannequins and all kind of decorations to look like a station wagon is getting ready to go on a trip. And then these two pictures are pictures of when we cooperated with some of the local schools, actually with 6 of them, including Louisiana College. But this is the Menard Eagles, and here's the Bolton Bears, and here's my dad, here's myself and Jack Butler, and so many challenges to a business lasting this long. I think the car business will be there in 100 years. I think it'll be dramatically changed from where it is. But there's going to be a place, a niche, if you keep working at it and things work out the way you think they are, that it could be here 100 years.
I don't think there's another dealer group in the state that's 100 years old, family owned.
When I mention it to people outside the business that we're 100 years old and I see the expression on their face, I realize then how impressive that is. And I'm very, very proud to be a part of that. I really am.
100 years in any business is unbelievable. And 100 years in a family-owned, local, small-town automotive store is unbelievably impressive. And I'm very, very happy that I've been a part of it for the last 38 years.
It's just been an awesome experience, and it has gone by so fast. You know, I can remember the first couple of days being here, but it doesn't seem like it was 32 years ago at all.
You know, 100 years ago, automobiles were just becoming mainstay in the United States. There were still horses and buggies intertwined with cars on roads that weren't even paved.
And then the time goes by fast. You realize when you're doing things and you're working and trying to make things better, time just goes by and you go, oh, it's 100 years.